Hello there, my name is Jade Masters and welcome to my drum channel. A recently new channel, I must add, that obviously I've just started. And yeah, thanks for tuning in. Just a little bit of background on me, I guess. I've been playing since I was 13 years of age. I had a break along the way, pretty long break to be honest. And I've come back to it in the last little period. And I thought I would just start throwing some videos out there. Hopefully it helps a few people along the way, especially beginners. I'm going to be putting up regular content, hopefully every couple of weeks, depending on my schedule with playing and other things that I'm doing in my life. But yeah, this is a Yamaha Oak Custom. I bought it a very long time ago. Actually had a Yamaha endorsement, a paste endorsement back in the day, and I was pretty lucky, probably around 2007 from memory. I think I received that. I was pretty blessed when I was doing a fair bit of playing. So just on the playing, to give you a little bit more background, as I said, I started when I was 13 and I was taught primarily by a very good drummer in Western Australia, Perth, Western Australia, by the name of Glenn Walsh, an Indian Portuguese fella. Brilliant player. Played with some of the greats over his journey. And he taught me a very unique system that I'm going to pass on over the coming weeks. As to my playing, I actually started off with a pair of chopsticks and pots and pans and bins back in a little unit, again in Western Australia. And then that sort of escalated, if you like, to a pillow and a pair of drumsticks, and then finally a practice pad and a pair of drumsticks, which is what we're going to actually start on today. Not because I started there, but I think it's something that you can take anywhere with you, meaning the practice pad and a pair of sticks. But it's also very good to have an understanding of what you're doing rather than just getting on the kit and bashing it away as a beginner, that is. And hopefully over the preceding lessons I can sort of shed some light onto my insight of that, because it is essentially a mathematical equation, and in that there's a lot of like subdivisions, how many notes fit in a bar and all this sort of stuff, and hopefully I can help break that down a little bit so it becomes a little bit clearer for people, and it might even help the odd advanced person as well. You never know. But yeah, so I started, like I said, at 13 and did all this practice, probably best part of 8 years. I practiced for three to 5 hours a day back in the day. And then I started in punk bands and then started getting shows with that. And then that sort of went on to lots of different styles. So your rock, your funk, Latin, jazz, all those things. And then I started getting a lot of studio work, which was amazing. I played with lots of different people in the studio and of course live. And then from live playing, it went from, like I said, punk shows to intimate shows to pub shows to festivals and bigger sort of venues, if you like, along the lines of like your Sydney opera houses and things like that. And then a little bit of stuff overseas as well. But anyway, without further ado, let's get into today's lesson. And to start with, what we're going to talk about straight up is quarter notes, eighth notes and 16th notes. Quarter notes being, in all songs ever made, it is the tempo of the song. Essentially, the quarter note is the tempo of the song, whether it's 4/4 or 3/4, 1 2 3, 1 2 3, 1 2 3, 1 2 3. That's a quarter note. So we're going to learn to start with the single stroke roll. Single stroke meaning that's a stroke, one stroke, and it proceeds or follows with the second stroke being on the opposite hand. If I'm right-handed, I'll start with my right hand. So if I'm left-handed, I'd start with my left hand, and vice versa. So we're going to start with quarter notes. Then we're going to go into eighth notes, and then we're going to go into 16th notes. So I'll just demonstrate that with a metronome set at 80 beats per minute. And I'm going to do 2 bars of each. So what I'm going to do, or what this approach does, and how I learnt and was taught, that we go up the scale and down the scale, or what we call subdivisions. So in the bar we have subdivisions. So we're dividing it 4 to 8 to 16. Then we're going to divide the 16 into 2, which gives us 8. And then we're going to divide the 8 again into 2, which gives us 4. So I'll just demonstrate. 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and a 2 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and a 3 and a 4 and a 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4. So there, quarters, eighths and 16th notes with a single stroke roll. Normally when drummers are taught this, we go straight to the 16th notes, and it can be a bit of a mouthful, to be honest, because you've got to learn not only how to play it, right, left, right, left, right, left. Sometimes it can start quite quick. The other thing is, if we're learning how to count, 1 E N 2 E N 3 E N Some drummers will say it or teach it as 1 E N A, 1 E N A, 2 E N A, and so on. I find the E's an easier preference for me. The reason why is because you got 1 E and so you've got 2 E's and there's a space between them. And it's much easier than saying 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, up to 16. It's just too much of a mouthful. Hence why the counting is very simple. So as I said, most drummers, 2, 3, 4, will learn just in 16th notes. And as I said, the subdivisions, learning the subdivisions, in my opinion, is the foundation of this stuff, because later on when we get into actually playing grooves, you're going to play a quarter note groove, you're going to play an eighth note groove, and you're going to play a 16th note groove, which I'll demonstrate in another video coming up. And they all sort of are interrelated in a way, for sure, okay? And it'll make sense as we go forward. So now what we're going to do, we're now going to do the triplets or triple stroke roll, triplet stroke roll, and we're going to do that again in quarters, eighths and 16s. Quarters, eighths and 16s. And so what that means is, being triplets, they're in 3s. And they can be quite tricky to learn straight away, but if you can get it down, again, it's going to add a lot to your playing as you go forth. So what I'll do is I'll demonstrate it, and it might be something that you need to come back to rewatch and play along to, or maybe throw a comment, I should say, in the chat box, and I might be able to help a little bit more, explain it in a different way. But essentially, 2, 3, 4. So again, done 2 bars. There's 6 notes in the bar when we're playing quarters, quarter note triplets. And then there's 12 notes in the bar when we're playing eighth note triplets. And then there's 24 notes when we're playing, I guess, the 16th part of it, the double of it. So doubling it each time. So 6, 12, 24. I hope that all makes sense. Now what we're going to do to add to this, to make it a whole lot more interesting, is we're going to put the two together. And what I mean by the two together is we're going to play 2 bars of quarter notes, so single stroke or straight, and then 2 bars of quarter note triplets, then 2 bars of eighth notes, and then 2 bars of 12 notes, so back to the triplets. And so it'll go straight, so to speak, swung, straight, swung, straight, swung. It's probably the easiest way for me to explain it. And it's quite tricky because we're going up the scale and down the scale, if you like, or we're going 4, 6, 8, 12, 16, 24, what's after that, 32. And then we're going to come back down. So it's quite tricky, especially against a metronome, which I would definitely advocate for, by the way. It does take a while to get used to it. But what it does, playing with the metronome, is builds what we call our internal clock. And the internal clock essentially is we're building that, I guess, what do we call it, a quarter note in there. So playing quarters, the tempo is always inside us while we're doing this, all this ba 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 dum, da 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 ba da 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 dum, da da ba 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 ba, da ga da ga da ga, or whatever it may be. That's part of the reason why we're playing with the metronome, and of course to ensure that we get good timing over a long period of time. So when we get to the show or we get to a studio, you can play in time, and I can guarantee if you get to the level of studio playing, and for obviously the advanced players out there, you already know, most of the time you're probably going to be asked to play to a click in a studio to ensure so many different things. A, we're not speeding up and slowing down, the song starts and ends in the same tempo. Overdubs become a lot easier when musos get called in, maybe trumpet players and things like that, and it's all in time. So anyway, without me waffling on, let's get back to putting the two together. 2, 3, 4. So there you have it. Single stroke roll in quarters, 8 sixteenths, back to eighth notes, back to quarters. Then we played the triplet stroke roll or triple stroke roll. Again, in quarters, 8s and 16s, or I should say the quarters are 6, and then we have 12, and then we have 24 notes, back to 12, back to 6. And then what we did is we put the two together. So we went 4, 6, 8, 12, 16, 24, and I added in 30-second notes, back to the 24, and so on, back down to quarters. Hope you enjoyed this video. As always, if you could subscribe, I'd really appreciate that, especially starting out, to my channel. If you have any feedback, please throw it in the comments section under the video. And until next time, take care.